Hi guys and welcome to Wilde. Today I am here with a UK raised but a US based artist, Baz Francis. Hi Baz and hello and welcome. What are you doing
Hello.
in the US?
I am, I'm conquering it. That's what I'm doing. Enjoying life and playing music, but currently stranded in the desert until I get to go home to Southern California. And since I've been out here, I've released one album with Mansion Harlots, and I'm working on some new material as we speak.
Exciting. Well, first I want to know why LA? Because obviously you were born in the UK and then you migrated to the US. I want to know what was your why US and why California?
I first went to California, San Francisco, in my late teens, and it just felt right. And it didn't. I knew that I wanted to live in California one day, but it wasn't the right time. I was very young, and also my grandparents were still alive, and I was very very close with them. So I really didn't want to be too far away from them uh, growing up, and I don't regret that decision. But when my grandfather died and my pets died in England, I realized that there was no reason to stay in England anymore. And I love England, but when I went to LA years after going to San Francisco, I was like, okay, well, San Francisco I love, but this really is home. So I went out there with my girlfriend and future wife in 2015. I showed her the place, and she was like, okay, let's do this. So she was studying at UCLA, which was pretty cool, and we lived on the west side. And then she got a job opportunity at the University of New Mexico. So we came out here, and I was commuting back and forth to LA. And then Corona happened. So now here we are in a very quiet city in the desert that's kind of shut down, and it's been taking its toll on us. There's a lot of gun crime in our neighborhood. We never experienced that in LA. And
That's really interesting. You should say that because that's usually the thing that you're most what one is most concerned about when it comes to Los Angeles, that the gun crime or crime altogether. But so yeah, that's very interesting that you should.
yeah, LA gets a lot of bad press for no good reason from people who've never been there or have only been on Hollywood Boulevard. It's not really been a nice welcome to the neighborhood. And just as I was starting to sort of get my groove here, Corona happened and shut down a lot of the places, and it sort of stopped me from being able to see the friends I had made. So that sucked, and I was supposed to go on tour across 7 states back in April. That obviously got postponed until
Have
who
no
knows when.
it's
So yeah, that's the story of how and why I came to Albuquerque. But we leave here, I think it's early next year, to go back towards Orange County, California.
Oh, amazing. Okay, well, fingers crossed that things start looking up for you, and I mean for everybody. Obviously, coronavirus has been a major impact on the whole world and even everyone. But yeah, I really hope that things start going more your way. Now, how long have you been in Los Angeles?
We moved in 2017, so we've been in the States for just under 3 years now, and 2 of those were in LA. And I think it's something that you were saying earlier about identity. is that people come up to me and they hear the accent and they go, "Oh, Watto fellow, how do you do?" And "Oh, God save the Queen." And it's like, I feel as much American as I do English. My wife is Spanish Colombian, so I feel as Hispanic as I do English. I'm, at the end of the day, not an Englishman. I think the beauty of traveling is you take on different qualities from everywhere you go, and you learn something new, and it goes into your character profile.
We're all influenced by so many different cultures. We're so lucky that we can travel and that we soak culture from everywhere. Both US and UK are obviously very multicultural, and it's really lovely to. I think it's a beautiful and a really positive thing to be able to learn about other cultures and taking them on and almost adapting them as your own. The reason I also asked about LA is because I wanted to ask your opinion about music or musical opportunities. Now, a lot of people in the UK in the music industry really aspire to go to LA for the opportunities. Now, having experienced both, do you think that there is more or less in one or the other, or do you think it's just down to individual and how they're making the most out of kind of the situation?
It really depends on what you want. The LA lifestyle, and I mean that across the whole board. It's an acquired. One thing I learned in LA is that money gets you a long way. So if you don't have money, you can have all the talent in the world, but it doesn't really matter unless someone, is going to assist you or has contacts. So when I was in LA and performing and doing all of these cool things, the reason I never got upset about not being part of the A-list was because some people go to LA because they want to be famous. And I wanted to go there to make music, and there's a difference. Now, if you have that money and that backing and those contacts, then you're much better off in LA than pretty much anywhere else in the world for, English speaking entertainment, at least. I dare say if you're a K-pop star, Seoul is a more ideal place. And if you're a country star, Texas. But for the mainstream movie community, the mainstream English-speaking music, well, and others, LA is the place to go. And that is not to say that I don't think that cities like London or Brighton are less capable of creating great art and nourishing it and projecting it onto the world scene. It just means that LA has this famous ability to project things. And one thing that I learned with LA is pretty early on is the way the sun sets there creates this yellow kind of haze. And it makes even the dirtiest alleys look glamorous. It's quite amazing that when you get that LA sunset, and it really does feel like you're in a movie. Plus, you can go to the grocery store and see a movie star or a famous musician. I could tell you stories for days.
Oh my God, I want like 5 names of famous people you've just bumped into.
Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger cycled past me in Santa Monica. Goldie Hawn got her groceries in the same shop as me. Anthony Kiedis of Red Hot Chili Peppers would always walk past me to get coffee.
Is he tall or short? I want to know.
Short.
Short. I could never gather with his look whether he was quite a short or a tall lad.
No, he's short. But if you want tall, I was walking a bit further down the street one day, and this guy stepped out, and I thought, he's tall, and he certainly was. He was Shaq O'Neal, basketball player.
That is one tall lad.
And the funniest story is, I saw a woman drive off once with her takeaway on the roof of her car. So I ran down the street, grabbed on it, knocked on the window. She wound it down and she said, "Oh, I feel so stupid." And I gave it to her, and it was Kate Hudson.
No way.
So there's 5 for you.
That is literally wonderful, and I'm just going to put it out there. If I make it to LA anytime soon, I'll definitely be giving you and your wife a visit to take me to all the best places to just randomly meet celebrities.
You got it.
I have another industry-related question, but before I do, this has been bugging me this whole time. What's in your cup? And I want to know if it's English tea and if it has milk in it.
It is English tea with milk in it.
Ooh.
However, it's oat milk.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a vegan. So it's English as you can get, and it's in my favorite mug, which says Los Angeles. I'm always representing.
But you have been in the industry for quite a while, and you are quite experienced. Now, if we have somebody watching here who is very new to the industry and wants to make contacts and get further, what are your kind of best tips for somebody who's just starting out in music?
I feel like I need to sort of make an amendment to that notion that I'm part of the industry, because the industry is this huge machine, and of course it goes from grassroots through to A-list. Making music and doing some really cool things, but being my own cottage industry. I set up my own label, Magic Cat Records, in 2011 and started releasing my music through that. And I have organized tours, I have hustled, and I have done all these things. And I have found myself in some very privileged situations over the years and on some very cool stages and I've worked with some of my heroes. But then people make the assumption that I'm part of an industry machine, which I certainly don't feel like, because I actually love not being indebted to a big company and getting 44 cents every year for my songs getting played on the radio. I like having that independence. So my advice to someone who wanted to get into the machine, which isn't all bad at all, if you didn't have the machine, you wouldn't have Queen, Guns N' Roses, Beatles, Aerosmith, some of my favorite bands, because those big companies get those records everywhere in the world. They get them on TV screens and they get the bands on stages. So I don't have a problem with it. I'm just happy being on the periphery of this industry. If you want to get into that world of, let's call it pop, then I would strongly suggest you speak to a manager who has contacts, because as I said about LA, a lot of the industry is, and I don't say this with any bitterness, it is a case of who you know and how much money is behind you. So if you want to get into that world, there is a certain process of, you know, shaking hands and whatnot in order to get into it. However, if you want to get into the industry but not be a part of that world, you just want to work in a band, well, it's a pretty dog eat dog world, as you know. And the best way you can do that in rock is by getting out and playing live, and by putting out original material, because I am doing a lot of cover videos at the moment during quarantine, and it's fun. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to get any rave reviews for it because it's not original and it doesn't set me apart from the rest of the pack. What the majority of rock lovers want is something new and exciting. But I think that applies across the board. You know, with all genres, people want something new and exciting, and you're not really going to get that by doing the same covers. And also, with studio technology being as good as it is now, anyone can sound good on a record. So people want to see live music, and you look at how people are not happy because they're stuck at home now, and they want to feel that energy, that sweat, that chaos. And I do too. And there is a certain danger to playing live music where you don't know what's going to happen that night. You don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't know what memories you're going to form. And if you can create something yourself on record and on stage that creates life-affirming memories for someone, that is your best ticket to wherever you want to go. That would be my 2 cents on how to make it in the industry.
No, I completely agree. I'm no expert at all, but obviously grafting, it's really important. And I think that live music, because of the technology that we have, it has become, it's harder in a way that there's a lot more competition because everyone can go online and post their music. But it also means that people have not felt the need of gigging as much because they can just put their music out on the internet, and they can sit at home and they don't creating that connection with people, which is what gets them, gets them further. And like you say, it's a whole new level of seeing somebody live and seeing how they act, and you really get to know the almost like personality through in real life. So,
and I think with things like YouTube and Facebook, people call themselves a musician or a model before they've ever done a photo shoot or written a song. And it's largely created around the notion that, you know, they're sort of rock stars by virtue of the fact that they have a YouTube account or an Instagram one. And I think that having self-confidence is absolutely key. You know, you look at a band like U2, they formed before they could play a note. That confidence is key. But you've got to also understand that the general public now gets bombarded with news and media and entertainment at such a rate that they're not going to want to watch everything on YouTube because there's too much. And, you know, like I said, when I do a cover video from home, if someone connects with it, they're connecting with someone else's words and music. And I go, well, that was fun, you know, like a bit of a play, you know, it keeps me fresh. But you don't see the look in anyone's eyes afterwards. There's no applause. no one comes up to you after the show and goes, "Oh, I like that song," you know. And it's, when you're on stage, it's one take, and if you screw up, it's, you can't do anything about it. So I think that that sort of live experience and the danger and the sort of one-off, once in a lifetime nature of it is what myself and musicians all over the world are really struggling with being without at the moment. And actually, I'm doing my first show this summer, next weekend. It's a socially distanced one, so I'll be outside and the spectators will be outside. But I just needed to get on a stage and do that, put my, you know, neck on the block. And I think it will be awkward having that gap between me and the audience, but I embrace the awkwardness. It's the awkwardness that makes it exciting and makes it a challenge and makes it satisfying to get through. And that's something that, you know, I'm not going to get solely by filming videos in the apartment during a pandemic.
And you have mentioned earlier that you've been lucky enough to work with some of your heroes. Who are the people that you had the opportunity to work with? And
well, it's a little odd calling them heroes in some cases because they're now dear friends, but the most one of my main collaborators over the years has been Donny V, the American singer, and I adored his work before we met, and now he's my big brother, and yeah, so calling him a hero, a songwriting hero and a musical hero, sure, but yeah, it just feels a bit weird using that term, you know, beyond that. I also discovered a genius musician from Holland called Robbie Valentine a few years ago, and he's become a very dear friend of mine, and we sang on each other's records and have sang on stage. And the one that people ask me about the most, and I'm still kind of in shock that I did it. I was one of the last people to ever work with the comedy legend that is Rick Mayall, and of The Young Ones and Bottom. And he narrated on our second album, and he died a few weeks later. And I'll never get over that experience, that joy, and that joy and that loss. And he didn't know he was dying, and we certainly didn't. And I am beyond honored that one of the last recordings my childhood hero ever made was, he said on our record, "They're a nice bunch of guys, but that Baz really is a complete and utter." So honored.
And this proves that if you work hard, your dreams will come true.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just, and you know, I've opened for some other artists who I've loved since my teenage years. I opened for Art Alexakis of Everclear last year. Magic 8 Ball opened for Blind Melon in Pasadena last year. We opened for Chuck Mosley of Faith No More just before he died. Other musicians that I respect have heard my work over the years and been kind. So that's my little resume.
And as well as being a solo artist, you're also a part of 2 groups. Now, tell us a bit more about those groups and how are they different and why you're a part of them.
Well, Magic 8 Ball is my long-term band, and that has been something that I have done with a collective of musicians over the years. So the lineup has been constantly changing. And Mansion Harlots, that was my first ever band back in 1997 with Wilde, and we reformed 10 years later, and we started work on an album, and we did some live shows. I don't know if we'll do any more. I don't know if we'll make another record in the future, but it was, I can tell you this much, the show we did in Luxembourg in 2018 was up there as one of my favorite gigs ever, if not my favorite gig ever. My first ever proper show with Mansion Harlots in 1998 is another one. And I am as proud of the Mansion Harlots album, All Around a Fairground, as I am any of my other albums. So, although I don't know what the future holds for Mansion Harlots, it's a different entity for those reasons, but no less valid than Magic 8 Ball, who I also love and shall be. I'm planning to make a new album with starting at the end of this year.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask next, was what are you working on at the moment, / what are you working on next? The pandemic is down a little.
I've been working on a series of singles that have been collaborations with the aforementioned Donny V and my friend Chris Hazlitt and Mickey Richards, who is the drummer for Ryan Hamilton and the Harlequin Ghosts. So these singles are nothing really related to what I'm going to do next with Magic 8 Ball. However, they all have a particular individual meaning. And it sounds to me like, oh, working on a few singles, that will, but the way I am, they're vocal productions. So they're choirs of me. And it with me taking on a lot of the production duties, like editing as well, it's time consuming and I don't regret it, but I am also eager to get back into Magic 8 Ball territory because I want to start working on a heavy album again.
Amazing. Well, it sounds all very, very exciting. Oh, this is a good question. This is going to be my last question, but I'm really eager to find out. Who are you listening to right now? Like, if you had to pick 2 people that you're loving right now, who would they be?
I am actually listening to Marilyn Manson, and I'm also listening to the band Suede. So 2 completely different styles of music. Suede appeals to the romantic side of me, which is very deep inside, and Marilyn Manson appeals to the other side of me, whatever, the anti-romantic side, shall we say. So yeah, Marilyn Manson and Suede.
Well, those choices are fabulous, and just want to say a massive thank you for being on here today. I feel like you have been a huge insight it's been really exciting for me to find out so much about the industry and also about you as well. And I'm sure that you have inspired loads of people, and this is just going to be such a great source of information for any new people wanting to be in the industry, to be able to come to and listen to this and hopefully find a good direction and know that kind of dreams do come true, and that if you work really hard, you can do absolutely anything you want to. But yes,
Well, thank you.
all of Baz's links will be down below, so go and check them out. All of the music videos, all of the socials, both of the bands, everything you need will be in the box down below. So go and check them out. And I really hope that once the album is released, we can go back on and find out more about it, and hopefully the world will be in a much nicer place, and we can talk about all the beautiful live gigs and amazing things.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. And I look forward to showing you around LA and all the celebrity grocery stores.
I hope so too. Thanks so much, Baz.